Hi, welcome to another episode of What the Heck Are We Working On Now? This is a quick attach plate for a John Deere 324B. This is a hook latch system. Now this particular piece happens to be an adapter for taking it from the hook latch setup to a skid steer mount. Now we had to borrow this plate from a gentleman from Boss Equipment in St. Croix Falls, Wisconsin. Really nice people. If you have a chance to work with them, please do. They're really great people. But as I said, we borrowed this attachment from them so we'd have something to use as a template for these particular plates. These plates were sourced from a third-party vendor, and they were off quite a bit. The plates were a mess when we got them. We cleaned them up and made mated pairs out of them based on getting plates that were the closest to each other, and squared them up and put them on face plates. So we got 4 plates, so eight of these side plates each, and they were all over the place. So like I say, we made mated pairs, but we still weren't sure what the center to center was supposed to be from the top of the hook here to the center of that hole. So to make sure that we had that measurement correct, we borrowed this plate, which is actually a John Deere brand adapter plate, in order to make a quick jig so we could check that spacing. So what I did is I made this bar here, which has the center to center of the pinholes, so that sets into the hook up there and goes into the bottom pinhole. Now as you can see, that fits in that top hook really nice, and on the bottom I put it so that the round stock is at the very bottom of the hole, because that will tell me the maximum distance from there to there. That's the maximum distance that it can be. Now you can see that hole there is slightly oblong to the bottom. So you can look at the other side of this plate and see the top hook is pretty clean, but the bottom hole is oblong from wear, from it pushing against those pins when they're under load. So that seems to be the flaw in this design, is it looks like all of your forward push goes onto that bottom pin. I had thought originally there was a stop of some sort in here that the plate pushed against. There isn't. It does push against those bottom pins. So on the plus side, it's a fairly simple jig. On the bottom side, any slop that you have in there is going to cause your pinholes to wear out a bit and oblong like these did. Now, where we get into the real fun part of this is we take my jig, which as you saw was at the maximum distance of the holes, and when we put it into this plate, you can see our bottom hole lines up real nice, but when we come up to the top of this thing, that one, obviously the hole isn't even round, and we've got about an 1/8 inch gap there. And on this same face plate, we'll go over to the other side. Now keep in mind, these were the 2 plates that matched the closest to each other out of this whole group of 8 plates. So once again, our bottom pinhole lines up, and that top is 3/16 of an inch. Now remember, the other one had an 1/8 inch. So even though these plates were mated as close as we could get them without having a jig, they're still off a little bit to each other. Now we go over to the next plate and put that jig in. Our bottom hole has a little more slop than the prior one did, and the top, we've got almost a 1/4 inch gap there, and front to rear on this, you can see there's a hell of a space there. So we're going to have to do quite a bit of work to fill these plates in if we're going to make them mate accurately to this jig. And I'll go to the second hook on this one as well, so we can see where we end up. And that one, the bottom hole is pretty nice, and once again, because these were mated to each other, we've got almost a 1/4 inch gap around that. Now the other 2 plates I haven't tried yet, but I was pretty disappointed with the fit on these two right off, and it told me what we needed to know, that these parts that came from a third-party vendor are way below what I would say are acceptable quality. They're off by quite a bit, because the problem you're going to have with that, having that gap at the top, is when you put this onto the machine, all of the weight of your attachment is riding on that bottom pin. And since that pin slides out of a pocket, it's going to be wearing that pocket and wearing that bottom pin as it pushes against it, because 100% of the load goes onto that bottom pin rather than sitting on the top of those hooks like it's supposed to. So I am not happy with the quality of these parts, but we'll see where we go from here. Thanks for watching.